Hi there, my name is Allison Mansour and I'm a student volunteer here at the Mildred Westervelt Warner Transportation Museum in Tuscaloosa. And over the past several months, I've had the opportunity to put together an exhibit about the Tuscaloosa Bicentennial Quilt. Right now, I'd love to share some of the behind the scenes with you guys. As part of this project, I interviewed Yvonne Wells, who was the head quilter. For her, quilting is not just about practicality, but also about storytelling, which is how she got the idea for this quilt. It tells the story of the 200 years of Tuscaloosa's history. For her symbolism though, she likes to use little knickknacks or things that she finds, either in a thrift store or at her house. And one of the things that stood out to me while I was looking at the quilt before I interviewed her was Chief Tuscaloosa's head. Here it's shown in these really bright colors, which stands out from the rest of the quilt, which is a lot of neutrals, earth tones, primary colors. So I asked her about it and she said that she actually found a purse at a thrift store. She didn't know what she was going to use it for, but the purse had this beautiful picture of a Native American on it and she had to grab it. Turns out years later, she was able to use it for this quilt. In the east quadrant, we have a police pin. In the south quadrant, we have some charms. And in the west, we have a whole little scene of Stillman's choir. Stillman was Miss Wells's alma mater, so it's a little nod to her own personal history. So one of the most interesting things about an exhibit with a quilt or some other textile is the amount of preservation activity that has to go into ensuring that the exhibition of it won't damage the item. And what I mean by this is that because fabrics are woven together with lots of little threads, and large objects like this are usually hung somehow, if they're not hung properly and they're hung up in the corners, the threads will separate and cause thin spots and weakening that can ultimately tear the quilt. Another thing that preservationists have to be aware of is sunlight. Too much sunlight can damage the threads and make them weaker, also causing tearing, or it can fade the colors. And with something like this, that would be really detrimental because one of the aspects is how colorful and bright it is, and that draws you in. Now, down here in the south, it's very humid, and unfortunately, that's not good for textiles because it can cause them to rot. It is a natural material, so that can cause mildews, molds, funky smells, things like that if the environment is too damp. So while all the problems that come with exhibiting and preserving textiles, it just reminds preservationists and historians and curators and anyone who works in the museum how important it is what they do. Because without these objects, without someone taking care of them, they won't be there. And with this quilt in particular, it's incredibly important because the whole point is to tell the story of Tuscaloosa. This object was made to tell a story, not just, something that someone would have and they used in daily life and now we have it in a museum case. Its purpose is to teach history.